Back now to President Trump. Wheels down. We were watching it live here as he landed in Paris for the commemoration of the 100-year anniversary of the end of World War I. He'll join leaders this weekend from dozens of other countries. Now, just before he landed with the First Lady, the president took to the Twitter, and he wrote this. President Macron of France has just suggested that Europe build its own military in order to protect itself from the U.S., China, and Russia. Very insulting, but perhaps Europe should first pay its fair share of NATO, which the U.S. subsidizes greatly. Michael O'Hanlon joins us now from Brookings, where he's a foreign policy senior fellow, and I'm sure that will shake up the weekend meeting a little bit. Michael, what did you think of the president's tweet?
Well, first of all, thanks for having me on, and good for President Trump going to this commemoration, and good for you for noting it. It is a very important date. It's the 100th anniversary of the end of World War I. Even though we don't have those amazing veterans with us any longer, it's still a day in history worth commemorating, and I'm glad Mr. Trump is there. So having said that, and now getting to this issue, I think that President Macron a couple days ago chose some unfortunate words when he said something that actually President Trump should have liked, because what he was basically saying is Europe should do more. As you know, France is a very proud country that sometimes has wanted to keep a certain distance from NATO, and that is not necessarily incompatible with the Trump agenda. He would like to see Europe feel more of a desire to increase its own capacities. But Macron worded it in a way that made it sound as if the United States could be a military threat to Europe. But I don't think that's what he meant. I think what he meant was we don't want to have to always be subservient to Washington on the world stage in every way. So if he had found better words, maybe there wouldn't be this new spat. But as you point out, it's not a perfect start to the meeting.
Well, if nothing else, if you're right, I guess he gets a chance to explain himself in person, Macron, because he'll have this tweet to play off. He won't be surprised by it. But just so for people who aren't following it as closely as you are, so what you're basically saying is the president of the United States reads this as Europe wants its own military. They're afraid of us and China and Russia, and that's insulting. But your point is what? That Europe really wants to kind of go out on its own more, not be as reliant on us as they have been in the past.
Yeah, we should sort of want this in many ways, and this is a part of President Trump's thinking that I actually agree with, and a lot of people do, of both political parties, that Europe should be encouraged to do more. And if that means have its own autonomous capacity, you know, that's not necessarily against NATO's intent or goals, because these forces, NATO's forces are built nation by nation anyway. So if they sometimes organize in European associations and sometimes organized through broader NATO purposes, it doesn't really matter that much. There isn't that much in the way of headquarters or sort of connective tissue that's all that expensive or, bureaucratic. Most of the capacity is nation by nation. So you can call it European, you can call it NATO. It all is serving the same general set of goals.
Yeah, I almost wonder now that you've explained it that way. You explained it very well, by the way. If this weekend ends with everybody kind of arm in arm and, everybody, President Trump taking credit for having brought Emmanuel Macron around and Macron able to go to his own political base at home and say, hey, I've done this for you, that there could be a kind of a win-win that comes out of it, or is that overly optimistic?
No, I think you're right, although there is going to be one more piece to this. First, there's the Macron-Trump meeting. Then there is the World War I commemoration. And then there's this big peace conference that President Macron has organized that President Trump's not staying around for, but Vladimir Putin will be there. President Erdogan of Turkey will be there. I've got a colleague at Brookings who has just blogged on this on our website explaining the origins of this meeting. It's probably not that important that Trump's not going to stay, but some people will wonder why. They'll scratch their heads. They'll also wonder why Vladimir Putin is there.
Right.
And why are we rehabilitating Putin? So there's that last piece to this 3 or 4 day saga that we'll have to chew on for a while as well.
And it means no Trump-Putin meeting. At least it looks that way. Michael, thanks for all the time today. We appreciate it. Good analysis.